I don't know about you, but I'm already in the holiday mode. I'm in Christmas mode. Yes, yes, yes. Just because it's just, I don't know. Usually I'm not, but I'm just so excited about the holiday season coming up. What about you? What about you? Are you excited for the holidays coming up? Just yeah, let me know. Let me know in the chat. Let me know you're here with a hashtag live or a hashtag replay if you're happy if you are happening to watch the replay. I don't know. I've been having just this amazing day coaching. This is my most not busy. My most what's the word I'm looking for, Scott? What's the word I'm looking for today's yeah. I'm not it's not busy. What did I use last week? It was not busy. It was the most involved. I don't know. But the most fun day for me because I get to coach all day long. And we had just epic conversations today. What about you? How'd your day go?
My day went phenomenally well. I'm playing with some experiences and putting together uh, a mini course and got to talk with a dream client, do stuff I love, got to do yoga. So it's an incredible day. I'm having a blast. Thanks.
Amazing.
And then again, here I am. It's 7 o'clock on a Tuesday, episode 141.
7. Yeah. No,
140.
146. It looks like 14. Why did I put 146? I thought it was 147. I can't count anymore. I gotta make sure I got that right. It might be 147. I might have to correct that.
Yeah, I think because the end of the year, I think we're going to hit 3 years.
Yeah, definitely.
I think
Definitely.
something like that. Whatever.
I'll look
Anyway,
back at my notes here, but it's yeah, we're close. We're gonna hit 150 for sure. Thank you for being here, Teen. It's snowing over there. It's yeah, it's just amazing. We don't have any snow really, but it's weird because I'm in Toronto, but we don't get that as I when I was growing up. It used to be like snow drifts, and I used to have forts and all that kind of stuff. We don't have that anymore. Not that I want it because now I'm driving. I'm like, no, get rid of it. Like one day I like it. What about you? Do you like the snow, Scott?
I do. I really do enjoy it. I like the whole blanket of everything on the earth and the quiet and the earth
Yeah,
getting. I really do.
the quietness. You're right. It's not that I hate the snow. I love it in that zone in that frame of reference, for sure. Tell us something that we don't know about you.
Something that you don't know about me. I'm a rosarian.
What does that mean?
That means I grow roses, that I love growing roses, that I have a passion for breeding and growing roses and finding the sweetest smelling roses that I can possibly have.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. My brain went there for some reason because at this time it's on the Hallmark channel. It's back to back Christmas movies, and I totally love them. So not many people know that. So I just love them. So I'm a total sap when it comes to these romantic movie thingies. So there you go. Anybody want to share what we don't know about you? Put it into the chat. We'd love to know what you normally a lot of people don't know about you. Put it in the chat. Let us know where you are at today. While you're doing that, we want to talk about just getting inside a professional salesperson's head. And I have some notes up here that I took from Eben Pagan's content summit. I don't know how long ago. And I just figured, hey, let's talk about this a little bit. So I am not claiming that I'm a professional salesperson. I don't know about you, Scott, but I do have some notes here that I know that Eben has, interviewed many professional salespeople. So I just wanted to maybe go through some of the notes and see what you think.
I am ready. And when I started in my speaking career and wanted to learn the marketing and selling, I bought everything and listened to everything and everybody. And it was interesting because it just brought to my mind what is the single greatest book ever written on selling? You'll never guess it.
I'm thinking, what's the title of it? Odd Mandingo or something like that?
No, it was by Dr. Seuss, and it's called
Oh,
Green Eggs and Ham.
hmm.
And it was this Jeff and Mark Slutsky, two brothers who were very good salesmen. They shared that in one of their talks. And again, it's if you haven't read the book Green Eggs and Ham, it's the story of this dude who does not want to eat green eggs and ham. He does not like green eggs and ham. Sam, I am. I will not eat it on a boat. I will not eat it with a goat. I will not eat it wearing a coat. I will not eat green eggs and ham. And the character in the book just keeps on and on and on and on, just persists forever until he's like, okay, I'll eat green eggs and ham. Just a fun little addition here to the show that I use it. It's fun. That's all.
Wow. What I'm loving where this rocket ship is taking off today on this call. It's amazing. Um, uh, thanks for chiming in here, Cherry. You just finished a Christmas movie. Which one? Which one did you watch? Because I know it's uncanny about the Christmas movies, like how many they actually make every single year. There's always new ones. I'm like, wow. The stories are basically almost the same, but it's like, man, this is amazing. And that's on my bucket list, by the way. I want to go to a Hallmark set. So if anybody out there has any connections on where they're filming, and probably where you are, Scott, don't they film in Vermont? Like, don't they have anything filming
They
there? I know they film in Florida.
they film a lot of stuff up here because of all the lodges and inns. And I was watching one the other night, and I'm like, I think I know where that is.
Dude, you got to get me in. I just
Okay,
I just want to be on the set. It's
let
so
me put it
epic.
on my list to find out when the next movie's being filmed.
Oh, it's crazy. All right, so let's get down to some fun business here and talk about like what it takes to really sell, and still in a heart-centered way. So I'm going to read some of the bullet points here. There's not very many of the bullet points, and I'm sure we'll go off on some of these points here, but
You
uh,
think?
creating a information uh, system, like Evan says, that to give value like 100 times more valuable than you are now for your customers, all it takes is to learn the system, and that's what we want to talk about today. And so one of the things that I use a lot as well is that when you tap into someone's desire and they figure out what they're looking for, they become irrational human beings. That's what they're driven by. They're driven by the irrational passion to solve or fix or whatever it is that they're doing. And that's why I always put in irrationally passionate. And it's probably that I learned it from Eben now that I'm looking at the notes. But if you have someone, if you're trying to sell something to someone and they're not already irrationally passionate about solving the problem or buying the thing, you're going to have a very hard problem because you're trying to convince somebody, right?
Totally agree. If they're not irrationally passionate from the get-go, then you got an uphill battle. You got to convince them to like the green eggs and ham instead of finding out do they actually want the green eggs and ham.
So, what does irrationally passionate mean to you?
Well, I my language is find out what a person really wants and needs. Give it to them in a language in which they'll understand, and you'll be wildly successful at what you do. And I always go back to Dean Jackson's cheese and whiskers. And if you find out what somebody's cheese is, they'll claw through a 3 foot wall to get it. They're irrationally passionate about it. They don't care. They'll do whatever it takes to. We were talking, a couple of months ago about a relationship I was in, and I was not irrational. I was irrationally passionate because I so wanted a certain piece of it that I didn't care about anything else
Right.
other than that. And that's what irrationally passionate is to me. I don't care if it makes sense. I don't care. I am so passionate about this thing, this result, this future benefit, desire, solution that I don't care. I'm going to do what it takes. I'll claw through a 3 foot wall. I'll disregard all of my rational, logical, intellectual stuff. That's to me what it means.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And this comes. I'm now. I mean, I'm always there's always something I am irrationally passionate about. In the last almost 2 months now, it's been with Notion and bringing all my stuff into that. And it was like the bug hit, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn everything I need to know about this. Then I went and bought a little program. Then I bought another bigger program, and I've been up over the normal time of my day, going into a lot of times into the 3 a.m.s in the morning, watching videos, building my systems and all these other things, because I'm irrationally passionate about solving my problem. And that's what it is. Nobody has to sell me on anything. If somebody says, I can solve this thing for you to get this dashboard or whatever it is to this degree, give me $50. I'm like, I'm in. Like, I don't even have to think about it. I'm already looking for the solution. And that's where the product aware, right, is you're solution aware, you're problem aware, all these. So I'm at the product aware stage, and like, I know the products that are out there. I just want the right one to solve this problem. And that's what happens. And it's, you don't have to convince me at all to like Notion or whatever it is. I'm just giving this example, but you don't have to convince me at all. That's what this is about, right?
Yeah, and I'm irrationally passionate about yoga. I don't care what's going on in the world. I'm doing
Yeah,
my
but
yoga.
that's for you. Like, do you go and buy everything with yoga?
No.
So that's not irrationally passionate. What you're irrationally passionate about is your health, or getting to the yoga to, like, you're doing it every single day. You're passionate about that. But about the yoga industry or the yoga thing, like, you don't go out and buy all these yoga mats and all these whatever they have. You're not out there buying all that stuff. So you're not. That's a different irrationally passionate.
Good definition. Dan had a comment up here, I think.
Yeah, I'll let you read it.
You want to put it back up so I can read it? Dan McBee says, good evening, gentlemen. Thank you both for all you have given to all us small business owners wanting to find a marketing approach that fits our values and principles. Wow. Yeah, that's you're very welcome, Dan. I'm honored that Joey has allowed me to partner with him on this for the last almost 3 years now, and to take what we've learned and then what we do here. It's not just what we've learned and what we know, it's what happens when we're on here. That is just tremendous. So I thank all of you for being here, for allowing this to happen, because without our tribe, we'd be talking to each other.
Yeah, I echo that statement for sure. We totally appreciate the tribe and showing up. Thank you for being here, and even just getting into the conversation, because this is a conversation that is among all of us. So please engage in.
So Dan, Teen, Cherry, what are you irrationally passionate about? I'd like to know, so that we can continue this conversation about inside the sales professional's head, and what it's like to be irrationally passionate, to solve and fix somebody's problem, to tap into that desire and give so much value that we just love doing it.
Or let us know what your clients are irrationally passionate about. Do you understand what that is? Do you know what that is? That'd be interesting to know as well. Evan also says here that, or the notes are, that he talks a little bit about that where most marketing is about, like, machine like type of stuff, where it's just like robotic, these kind of things. And most people are talking to the rational part of the brain. We've talked about this a billion times too. And the logical things. Here's why you should buy this and all these other kind of things. And they miss the emotional piece, which I think you and I both agree that, and we're not the ones who made it up, but it's the science is there, that it's 95% of the brain's decision to make a buying decision is the emotional piece. But everybody goes to the logical side.
Well, and that's where irrationally passionate comes in.
Right.
Because that's emotions. The logical side, the intellectual side says, but it's again, emotion that wins over, and it is probably 95%. And that's what you and I love to do, is tap into the emotions.
Yeah. And, I've given this example when I'm coaching on marketing, and to explain how quickly sometimes the emotional decision happens, because if you don't understand it or you disagree with it, or you're like, no, we're thinking that this makes sense and that's why we're buying. I always come to this example and say, look, I don't buy lottery tickets. And when there's a big, let's say there's a huge, I don't know, $40 million thing, and I'll go and buy a ticket for it, my brain will say, well, it's because I never buy these things anyway. So what does it hurt? Right? I could I could argue that that's my logical brain saying that, but it's the emotion of, if I win $50 million, this is going to be epic, right? But that decision was made so quickly that it got to my logical brain to say, "What? I'm not a I don't buy these every week. Who cares?"
Right. Yeah.
And so it happens like sometimes and a lot of times very, very quickly, but it's
Well,
all based on emotion.
and we make our decisions based on emotions, and then we justify it with the logic.
Right.
That's what our brains do. It's like, okay, yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, but then if we say that to somebody, it kind of sounds like, oh, well, I've heard that a billion times, and they don't really understand it sometimes. So you have to really break it down, because we're human, and our logical brain is the one that's always there, like it's always in front of us, and the emotional piece is buried. Sometimes we don't even know what's happening, so we're like, no, you're on crack. What are you talking about? It's I made a logical decision on this.
Okay.
Okay, so professional sales.
Gone from crack.
Well, that's true. That's, I mean,
True. It's the season to smoke.
uh, here's the piece that I really love. There's two pieces I really love about this. This is the part. Professional sales and marketing is really understanding the perspective of another person, where they're coming from, really getting inside their head and communicating that. And how many times have we said this over the last 147 episodes in different ways? And I'll add to this because we'll spin off of this. And I'd love to hear from the club as well, if you have any thoughts or comments or feedback on this, or even questions. But becoming a professional listener instead of the person trying to sell them. And this is one area that I'm always working on, and I've gotten really good at it in the last couple of years, but really listening and reading in between the lines so you can fit your product or your service ethically to their problem. And as you know, I talk about this in Atlas all the time when I'm giving, here, use these questions, or here's a couple of prompts or whatever. And I always warn people, these are not, cut and paste template thingies that you just wait for somebody to answer and you paste the next thingy in, right? Or say the next thing. It's a prompt to get a conversation going so you can listen more to what their words are saying. So I'll leave it there and let you spin off of that one.
I think what happens, Joey, is a lot of people get a template or they get a list of questions. And their goal is, well, let me ask these questions so I can get to the point where I can sell my stuff.
Right.
And you've heard me, we've talked ad nauseum about this, because this is the key to everything, is going as deep as you can. And there aren't a list of questions. I mean, I could start out with a list of questions, but as soon as you give me an answer, I'm going to say, well, what did you mean by that? What are you talking about when you said this? And tell me what that means. And how does that look for you? Or what did it feel like when that happened? Or give me an example of that. What happened and what didn't you like about it that I can't have from a template? I can't know that, because to me, it's parroting. And I use the Socratical method, which is I ask you a question, you answer it. I ask you about what you just answered until I get so deep into it. It's like, okay, that's what you really want. We talked a little bit about it last week, was, okay, the drill bit in the hole. And at the end of the day, it's about pride and satisfaction and admiration of what you did and feeling good sitting in your living room looking at all the things you put up there because you did it. Blah, 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 blah. But if it's just like, okay, I got this great drill bit that's going to make some great holes and it'll be faster and easier than anything you've done, they're like, yeah, I get that. So, to me, it's really having to go. And I learned that from Dale Carnegie when I was a Dale Carnegie instructor. And it was, we have twice the amount of ears and mouths for a reason. And I went to the Dale Carnegie sales training. And a lot of it was, how do you listen? And how do you get to that point where the person's like, this is what I really want? Oh, well, is you want, like, I love, at the end of the treasure hunt, want some help with that? Yeah. Okay. When you get to that point, it's so simple. It's not like, well, I got this thing and this program and course. It's like, want help with that? Yeah, I do. Because that's at the bottom of it. That's their problem. That's their frustration. That's their desire, their end game. And when you get there through questions, through listening, that to me is the mark of a professional.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Dan says, when you read emails from Joey, you feel like he understands exactly what frustrations most of us go through in the marketing. Oh, thank you, Dan. That's because I listen. I keep data on everything. I'm a geek for that. I'm irrationally passionate about getting, just learning and learning and learning, constantly learning from the market.
Watching on the show, on the live, hashtag live, or on the replay, hashtag replay. And while we're at it, Joey, would you put the link to the Heart Centered Marketing Club for anybody that's not a member to come join us, because it's the most heart-centered, supportive community you're ever going to find online. And if you're not taking Joey's emails and putting them into a document or printing them out, you're losing out. The best swipe file, and I've got swipe files up the yin yang. The best swipe file is Joey's email file. And, I actually, in my inbox, I have it partitioned to Joey and then Joey printed, which means I've already printed those out. So when I get time, I'll go print out. I'm rationally passionate
Well,
about
man,
your emails, Joey.
that means a lot coming from you. Thank you.
Well, it's because when I want to go write some emails, I go read yours, because how you do it, as Dan said, is just incredible. And it's because of your research. It's because you know what your target audience, your dream client wants, because you're always asking them. And that to me is more brilliant than, we talked before we got live that you and I have been following, one of the gurus, and they're just throttling nonstop. And it's about, come on the webinar and get our $1 billion worth of crap and this. And yours is so totally different because it's emotional and it's stories and it's, you hook and you open loops and you close loops. And so anybody that doesn't, go opt in for everything of Joey's. He's not going to sell you anything. You will have a swipe file of incredible emails.
Thank you. Thank you, man. I don't know where to go from that. It was like, wow, man. I'm going to just sit and receive it.
Receive it. And we were talking about, this started from understanding the perspective inside the person's head. And I went off a little bit, and then I went off a lot of bit. So that's kind of where this part of the path of wherever we're going to start, it is really getting inside their head. And how do you do it? And you were talking about, there are templates, but it's a skill that you have to get good at by doing it. A lot of people say, well, Joey, how do I do the treasure hunt thing? And what questions do I ask? And you give them the questions, but it's really about listening. And it's about, what if you went on a call and did not sell anything? What if your sole goal was to just find out as much as you can on how you could help this person and not sell anything? I've talked years ago, that's what I would do. I'd go help people and they'd say, can I hire you? No. Can I look at your stuff? No. Do you have a website? No. And that was just what I was doing back then. If you approached it from that perspective, you take all of the discomfort out of any conversation, because it's like, well, when do I close? When's it time to, talk about my product? Well, what if you didn't? What if your sole goal was to be a true professional?
Yeah.
Get value and find out exactly what the problem was to fix. You would find out more information than you ever would know what to do with. Then your copy, then your emails become so powerful because of the language. Go.
Yeah, no, I am fully agreeing with you, and I want to plug also Joe Polish because I finished
Yeah.
his book. I talked about it a week ago, and so his book, What's in it for them, is so powerful. I just couldn't put the thing down, and it's about building relationships, which is what is my entire business is all built on. It's what Atlas is built on, and learning from the master is great, but
Yeah.
it's also a huge marketing lesson in all of it. You can apply everything he says to the marketing, and and vice versa. And so I think that what is really important is what you said is when I'm on a calls or chats or anything that has to do with communication, my mind is always like, how do I help this person now? But there's no attachment to my product at all.
Yeah.
And
And Joe, yeah.
no, go ahead.
No, it's. I'm going to go back to the Dale Carnegie piece because one of the things in there was they taught you what was called a conversation stack. And it was a series of images. And it started out with two columns at the front of somebody's house. And then the doors open and you went inside. And in the backyard was all of their hobbies and tool shed. And then there was a fireplace. And then there was a hand reaching out for an airplane. And the propellers were tennis rackets, and there was a light up, and all of those things represented questions that you would ask somebody.
Right.
And you've been on my Bluetooth when I walk into the market, and I'm talking to everybody, and I'm just becoming genuinely interested in people because I love it. It's like you and I talk about. This is how we appear if we're on a sales call, a marketing call, on a webinar, on a coaching. There's no difference. And so when you start to truly become genuinely interested in people, it becomes easy. And that whole stack was the pillars were, where do you live? Oh, okay. And so tell me a little bit about your family. Oh, that's interesting. And what are your hobbies? And do you travel? And by the time you start getting really interested in somebody and you don't even think about what you're going to say. Because, I mean, I could talk to somebody. I went to a party with a gal a few years back, and I didn't know anybody. And by the end of the event, people were like, who was that guy? Nobody knew who I was. I never talked about myself because I just wanted to know about people, why I love people. I love people's stories. And when we take that and apply it to what we do in business, people know it. And they're like, you're really interested in me. You really care about me.
Yeah.
And it goes a long way to what we're talking about.
You're great. And I kind of reframe a lot of things to help me get over what doesn't work, or insecurities about sounding because I didn't have a good relationship with that, and all these other things. And one of the reframes that I've done for myself is that I am grateful for any conversation, not because there's an opportunity to sell something. It's an opportunity for me to learn
Yeah.
about something. And I guess I just have tapped into the, and me, like that's part of my DNA. That's who I am. And so I just used, what do I just love to do? And that is absorb information. So if I reframe, well, I don't want to be on a sales call. I don't want to do objection handling. I don't want to go through all this other stuff. And I reframed it to, man, if I could just get, all of these people to get on a call with me or to have a chat so I could learn, this is going to be so crazily epic for me. And that's exactly how I frame it. And it was great because I didn't really know the effect of this, and then on the last week, one of the students from Atlas was mentioning that we got on a call twice before he bought, and he was mentioning about the energy that was coming across in those calls, that there was no pushiness or anything like that. And it kind of surprised me because, yeah, in the back of your mind, you do want to, eventually get someone to buy into your thing, but that's not the, it's got to happen today on this call type of thing. But there's always in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
And but I was really surprised to hear that, and I thought about it, and I sat with it for a little while after I received it, and said, "This is a great compliment," because I was never really great at it, and I would fail so many times with every other method. And I sat with it, and this is what came up for me. It was like, what's the difference? Like, why, And I just wanted to share that with you and everyone listening, because if something's not working for you, it could be to your advantage, or I know it's to your advantage, to attach something that you're irrationally passionate about, and can you attach it to the selling process for you? Any thoughts on that, Scott?
Well,
And then we'll come back to teen.
uh, that was a lot there, Joe. By attaching what you're rationally passionate about, and I the biggest challenge that I see in all of these selling programs and everything is you've got to do something that you're not comfortable doing. You have to. I sold life insurance and health insurance when I was 19, and I didn't care at the time. It was a game for me. And that was one of the toughest things because what you have to do to close somebody to buy life insurance, it's
Mhm.
crazy. And you've got all these training and formulas and objections and that. And I hated it. I really didn't like it because I had to do that. And over the years, as I read sales books and objection things and objection journals, none of it ever felt right to me,
Right.
ever. And because it was just so against what my nature was to love people, serve people, see how I can help them from the get go, and not try and take them down this continuum of to get them to the always, the ABC always be closing. And it never worked for me. And over the years, it was showing up, giving value, becoming genuinely interested in people, learning what they needed, and then saying, here's what I can do to help. That worked. From didn't matter if it was mom
Right.
and pop or Fortune 100 companies, the same thing worked. You got a problem, I got the solution, let me help you. And so that's kind of what sparked my thoughts based on what you said.
Very cool. And we'll come back to that. I just want to read teens. When they come to me, they're so irrational passionate that they're desperate for help. That's good. Are they willing to agree to whatever? My response is to help them again and again and again without taking money for it. Okay, well, that's a whole other discussion. I mean, you have to have a business that is healthy. You have to make money in the business in order to help more people, and it's not about money, just as the the main driver, but the business does have to make money. Would you agree?
I agree totally. It's got to make money. And if they are rationally passionate and they're desperate for help and they're willing to agree to do whatever, that kind of like comes from Seth Godin's The Practice. Well, you're in the right line. Go over there and do what I tell you to do, and invest in this, buy this. So there.
Yeah, and irrationally passionate in this context, uh, like there's other caveats to that, which means they're willing and able to buy. So I might be irrationally passionate about golf, but I'm not going out and buying anything about. That's not irrationally passionate.
No.
It's like, no, I'll do anything to to go and get my new golf suit or the new driver, or these
I'll,
balls are better than those balls, like whatever.
yeah.
So they're irrationally passionate, and that's part of the keys of dream clients. That's one that's I'm just picturing the slide right now, but that's one of the 5 keys or something to a dream client, that they
Yeah.
have to be irrationally passionate, because you can't have just like one or two. Like, oh, they've got these 2 check marks and they're dream clients, but no, they have to be all of them,
All of them.
right? Uh, what was I going to say? I was going to bounce off of what you just said there. Um, anyway, it'll come back to me. Yeah,
It
so
will come back.
we're we're talking today about like getting inside a salesperson's head, a professional salesperson, and then taking those ideas or those insights and adapting it to the heart-centered way of making sales. And if you have any questions, let us know in the chat, or any feedback or anything that you want to talk about regarding your business or sales or anything. It doesn't have to be about this topic. We can bounce on anything. But the topic today is basically is how to utilize what professional salespeople have known for years, and that is by attaching the product ethically to someone's internal desire to solve something. And those are, I'm choosing these words carefully because you have to have, or your dream client in training, which is what the world calls a prospect, um, has to have this desire themselves. You can't install this into their soul. They have to have it automatically. And that's part of the irrationally passionate piece. And yes, you could sell somebody based on how great of a salesperson you are. Um, and that happens all the time. But what I'm hearing from what you're saying too, Scott, is that the way we make a sale is we're not trying to make the sale. We're trying to find out who this person is, where they are in their journey, what they need help with, and if there is a fit at their time when they're ready, then we can say, hey, listen, I can help you with that. Just let me know.
Totally and completely agree 100%. And that's what you and I talk about. And that's what this is about. It's sure we could learn how to sell and we could sell somebody something. But at the end of the day, is that really going to benefit them? Or was it just for the sake of making a sale? Sure, it could benefit them. But when you do what we talk about and when you go so deep and are so interested, and by the way, that's Elvira.
Oh, very cool. Nice to see you, Elvira. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I even said it right.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. So it's it's so much easier, Joey. And again, it's the heart-centered way when we genuinely care about people, when we're genuinely interested in them, when we ask them so much about themselves. And wait, it's Elvira?
Elvira.
I said Elvira. I blew it. I'm sorry, Elvira. I was on a chat with her and I got it. She corrected me. You got to show up more often, Elvira. So
yeah, exactly.
Practice makes perfect. Repetition, repetition, repetition. The whole thing is like, I remember, Joey, when I was doing things with sales calls and this, and it takes 7 no's before you get a yes. And it's like, why would you go through all that? I want to get on. I want to talk to people. I want to, as you said, I want to learn about them. I want to see what their journey is, what their hopes, dreams, desires are, their frustrations, their challenges, and how maybe I can help them. And that to me is fulfilling. Then, okay, well, they said no. I'll call them back again. Well, no, I don't want to call them back again. I want to have conversations, and I want all of our tribe and people to have conversations that are genuine. That
is there any question, like something that you could share with us that you would ask to generate more conversation? I'm thinking of one I want to share as well. But
well,
like during your conversations,
you hear me ask this when I'm out and about, and it's just one of my favorite questions, which is, if I could wave a magic wand today and you could be anything, be doing anything, what would it be? What would your dream life be like? What would your business be like? That to me is something it's just kind of a go-to question naturally.
Yeah.
It's in the planning process. And that was just, it came off the top of my head.
Is there any question that you use to dig deeper with somebody? Because this is where I am not this salesperson. I don't have, I have things that I remember during the conversation that will help me ask questions, but it's not like a script, like this one's first, this one's second. and this is what I'm trying to show everybody in Atlas is, okay, here's some prompt things, but here's a couple of other ideas to get more from that answer. I'll give you an
My
example, or go
go.
ahead
No,
while you
you
got the
go.
thought.
I got you. Go. I got mine. No.
Okay, so if I ask a question about like what's troubling you, or like, that's not the question, but what are the obstacles holding you back? Like everybody asks that question, right? And they tell me, this is what's happening. Then instead of me going, oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so how could we fix, like, going to the next question, which is what would be a solution that could instead of doing that, I would say, okay, walk me through the last time that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And listen to that language.
Yeah.
Walk me through the last time that happened. And so then the person is now, hopefully, and most of the times this happens, they're creating a visual story, and they're giving me emotional words. Or if they don't give me emotional words, walk me through the last time that happened. Well, this and this. And if there's no emotion there, I'm like, so how did that make you feel?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'm recording all of this in my brain and writing some stuff down. So that was one of the tips there, but go ahead.
Well, one of the things I do is I have as a result, which means that. Those are my two things. So I ask a question and someone responds. I say, so what does that mean? And as a result, what happens? And I just
Yeah.
that's one of the things I play with. And that's Elvira that said one of my favorite coaching
Yep.
questions. As a result, which
She's
means
an
that,
awesome coach, by the way.
yeah. I loved our conversation. We have to get back again together. I've been busy. But again, to me, as a result, which means that. So you just said that. So as a result, what happened? So what does that mean? And I just keep going. You've heard me say 21 levels deep, so that I find out. And I love, your question is, walk me through that. But what was that like? What did it feel like? Tell me about it. One of my favorite questions is, we're making a movie right now, and I need you to cast the scene right now. Tell me exactly what's going on in that scene in that movie. And people have a very difficult time with that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, if I was asked that question, I'd be like, I don't know, because I'm not great at coming up with those visuals or the dream. Even though I'm the one asking everybody the same questions, I am not that person. Even when I'm doing exercises or something in my coaching, and they're doing like, okay, 5 minutes for this, I'm like, I struggle with that. Like, I struggle on the spot. However, if you ask me, tell me what happened then, I
Right.
can come up with it. As you know, like, we've been talking about this for 147 episodes.
Yeah.
Give me a prompt, and I'll tell you a story. It's more like what dream. I don't know about that one. So I'm very careful on that one,
Yeah.
um, because I see when I ask the dream question too, is sometimes they struggle, and I move away from it, and then I come back to it. Like, okay, well, what's troubling you now? What's holding you back, or what's going on right now? And then bring the dream thing back in, because they can relate it to, this is the problem. Well, great, then I'll use well, if I could wave the magic wand and we could solve this, what would you do? That kind of
Right.
thing.
Another one, Joey, that I learned from Glenn Livingston and Terry Zine was, the future pacing, future casting, saying, okay, where do you see yourself in whatever, a year from now, 2 years, 5 years? Okay, great. What had to happen right before that in order for that to
Yeah,
happen? And
those are ones I still struggle with, bro. Like, I get asked those as well from my coach. I always struggle with them. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. But then when I sit with it, that's why I like the way we do it Atlas, because it's not right there on the spot. Because
right,
I can ask that question, and they can take a week to answer it, because it's in an
right,
email or a chat, and then you get epic answers. But when I'm on the spot, I know for me personally, I don't know about anybody else listening to this, but for me, I struggle with those kind of things.
Well, Joe, we've got quite a few people on the show tonight. So Elvira and Kay and Dan and Teen and Collie and whoever else I forgot and Sherry. So chime in here. Kay and Elvira having their own little conversation going on.
Can you read what Kay's got up on the screen there?
Wow, I love that as it returns them to that struggle in their brains, but in a way that is supportive. Yeah, Joey puts it incredibly well. Is, walk me through exactly what that was like, and then how did it feel, rather than, well, tell me about this thing.
You rock as well, Elvira. I hope that's Elvira. I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, that is.
Um,
and then K and K, and Elvira says, "You got the dog as Elvira," and waving at Elvira. I had no idea you were in Joey tribe, and then Elvira is so cool sister, and Elvira is great content. So now
Well,
we're
Kay, so you and Elvira know each other before the tribe? That's amazing.
apparently
Wow, that is so cool. I love seeing that connection. Um, yeah. So then, if you let us know if you have a question regarding, how to have conversations with somebody, where are you struggling with your sales conversation, anything like that, let us know. And I think Kay comes to the rescue. I have trouble with the question that have to do with the future when I'm stuck. So I'll let Scott take that one.
So when you say you have trouble with questions that have to do with the future when I'm stuck, what are you what
Oh,
are
maybe
you
she's just responding that she also has trouble
right?
with it too. I don't know. Sorry to
I
cut
don't
you off. Go ahead.
know. I want to know if she has trouble when she's being asked that question, or if she has trouble when she's asking the question of somebody she's talking to. So they know each other on Instagram.
Wow, that is that is so cool. Such a small world. Wow. Both. So she says both. All right. So talk to the one. Well, I'll let you take it, Scott.
Well, when somebody's asking you about the question about the future, it's how it's asked. It's not just saying, "Tell me what the future looks like." It's being more specific with the questions. If you were able to do this, if you were able to get this, and it comes from the questions you're asking them. I would never start out with anyone and say, "Okay, so tell me what it looks like 3 or 5 years down the road." But once I found out some information from them and what their problem is and what their dreams are, then I'd say, "Okay, now let's take a trip into the future. You've got this, and this in place. Now tell me what that looks like and how that feels like." Once I've got information that they've given me, because without it, they can't answer it. They need to have the information that they have in order for them to forecast the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It makes logical sense to me, but like I said, I'm not an on the spot person to dream, like to just go out into the future. It's just the way my brain works. It's just like I need alone time. I need non pressure, even like the countdown timer thing he's going or whatever. I just can't deal with it.
See, that to me, I'm comfortable with that. That's just something that I enjoy doing and playing. And let's make the movie and let's see what it's like, and let's cast the person, and let's tell me what the situation is, and help them do that. That's just something. Again, we all have our own superpowers here. And Kay said that helps. Be specific in helping them use what they have shared to see what they can transform. Yeah, that's exactly it. And most people will ask you, "Well, tell me what the future looks like." I don't got a clue what the future looks like. But it's like, "Okay, Scott, so you told me that yoga's in the future, and this, and an integrative holistic yoga resort, and organic, and so where do you think that might be?" Rather than, so it's taking the information that we gather from our questions and,
Always, yeah,
yeah, helping them
always.
with the future.
Is it a how to know what you don't know question? Is it a how to? I'm not following. I'm confused on that one.
Know what you don't know. I'm going to say no, teen. It's not. It's finding out what it is that you're rationally passionate about, and then helping them discover that more in depth and detail, with helping them find that out, not what you don't know what you don't know. At least that's what I'm getting from that question.
Yeah, if it has to do with a rationally passionate stuff, you already know you're rationally passionate about it. Like, you don't have to tell somebody that they're irrationally passionate. If someone got on a call with me, again, I'm just going to use Notion because it's present. I would know right away. And
Yeah.
and as a matter of fact, even the program I'm in now or the support that I get now, It's it's so epic that they are so aligned with everything that I'm aligned with. The same authors and the same programs outside of like everything. They talk about the para systems and like all the things that I'm talking about. It's like a marriage made in heaven. Like, wow, this is so great. And so I'm always trying to get more and more out of that one thing. And that, like, it's a huge lesson for me to learn and to step back and learn from being in as a student, but also looking at why am I so irrationally passionate and why am I doing all of this stuff, so I could again translate it into how do I make my students do the same exact thing. So again, it's analyzing, coming in and out of the matrix, like looking at Joey, like, what are you doing, man? And why are you doing this?
Yeah, yeah. It's constant analysis of ourselves and others, nonstop.
Yeah, and this is where the salesperson, the professional salesperson, are you are familiar, I know you are, with what's his name? Tom,
Hopkins?
yeah, Hopkins.
No, I'm not familiar with him.
Hopkins.
Yeah, Tom Hopkins.
Brilliant. Like,
Yeah,
that dude is like brilliant.
all of them. Tom Hopkins and Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar and you know the whole. I can't even remember all of them, but that whole genre of those guys that were out there doing it on the streets and door to door and figuring all that stuff out and in search of excellence and everything there way back when. Og Mandino that you mentioned earlier on the show.
Right. Yeah,
When
like when I was learning, this is where I was again trying to learn how to, with the Tom Hopkins era for me was within real estate, trying to sell joint ventures, like give me money, let's go buy real estate. And all of the closes, I forget what the book's called now. It's behind me somewhere on that shelf.
yeah,
But there's a lot of really, really great stuff in that book. And I studied it. I've dog-eared it like crazy, learning it. But it is still a sales thingy. But the dude does come from a good place.
yeah. I think I told you. I remember there were a couple of years where I was rollerblading for hours a day with headset on, listening nonstop to everybody about selling because I didn't know anything about it back then. And it all just gets in the brain and you filter and you take what the best stuff is. But to me, I mean, I remember I paid $600 for a course on closing. And it was like, that was a waste of money.
Yeah, there's a lot of wasted money that I have sitting here on my hard drives.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, if you reframe it, it's like, well, it got me to where I am now, and it also taught me these are the things I don't want to do. So I never,
Well, yeah, I like what your reframe of that. It got me to realize I don't want to do that.
yeah,
And if I hadn't read it, then it wouldn't have got me closer to what I love to do and
yeah,
who I love to.
yeah.
I think
It's
the first book I told you I read on copywriting was by Jeffrey Lant, Dr. Jeffrey Lant, called Cash Copy. And I read that book 5 times. Only one of the only books I've ever read that many times because it was just so powerful. It became the impetus for one of my courses and one of my products and a book I wrote. And it was just incredible. And again, I got to study a lot of professional speakers and
right.
bought all their cassettes. And way back when, that's how long it was. Bought the cassette tape thingy. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing as with Tony Robbins was my first one at
Oh, yeah.
14 or 15 years old, listening to that on cassette tape. And yeah, it's never wasted. This is one thing
No,
I use. I've coined the term life tuition. Like we
yeah,
all have it. We all have different life tuition. So everything that came before today is part of life tuition. And guess what? Tomorrow's going to have some more life tuition. So we never stop paying it.
no. The day you stop learning is the day you stop living and the day you start dying.
Yeah, yeah. It's so amazing.
And Elvira, that's Elvira. We have to have gifts of contrast.
Can you explain that a little bit? I'd love to know what that means.
Yeah. I would too.
Yeah, explain that, Elvira. Yeah, the life tuition.
Hey, Elvira, have we said your name enough tonight to make sure we get it right? Those are all Elvira's comments, by the way. Never
Yeah,
waste name here. Tony Robbins, love that. Life tuition.
yeah. So amazing. If there's I'd like to know if you're listening right now, either on the replay or live, uh, what was the first person you learned from in terms of the marketing and sales? Do you remember who was that person? I'd love to know.
So Elvira's got the response.
When we see what we don't want and we get to attract what we do want, gifts of contrast.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Very cool. I like learning new terms and new analogies.
Yeah, I like that. When we see what we don't want, we get to attract what we do want. Yeah, I like it. I very much like it. Thank you, Elvira, for that.
Yeah. Now, and Abraham Hicks. Wow. Okay.
Oh boy, that's going way back. The Akashic records, right? Isn't that part of Akashic records and law of attraction? And I remember driving in Palm Beach Gardens over the railroad tracks listening to that.
Wow. That is amazing. Yeah, it's so true. Like yeah, I'm still just drinking in the whole gifts of contrast because it's like, yeah, this is a gift. It's always how you look at things.
Yeah.
It's and even when I look back at the struggles I had recently in 2019, I would never take those away. It was really crappy being in it, but it's a gift of contrast.
And I love the gift of contrast when we see what we don't want. And it applies to life, not just marketing and sales. And Joey, you know that I went through this interesting relationship, and it was like the gift of contrast. I saw what I don't want to attract what I do want.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right, Kay. Like when we're talking about the anti
Yeah,
avatar, it's
yeah,
like here's what I don't want in my life, and you start attracting dream clients for sure. Definitely, I love that.
yeah,
And Russell Brunson,
yeah.
interesting. Wow, this is so cool.
Yeah, I didn't find Russell Brunson till way in the journey. But again, I started my journey with the speaking world.
Yeah,
And so was everybody that was in the speaking world, their books and their CDs, their programs. And God, just so many of them back then, which then led to the whole online world. That was really before the online world took hold. That was the beginning of it. That was even before all these dudes we talk about. We go back to the ones we were talking about, the Brian Tracy's and the Tom Hopkins and Claude Hopkins, and the list goes on, and the Schwartzes and the Kennedys, and way back when it was books and tapes before this whole online arena.
yeah. I think it was. I was just talking to my wife about this morning about connecting all the dots and all these things, and I remember back when I was in real estate investing, there was a lot of the Zig Ziglar stuff that
Yeah.
was there because it's part of landmark training and all that kind of stuff too. And that was like I guess, subsidiary of it or whatever. And there was a lot of that. And then I remember that was when I was again reprogramming my mind. That was 2007, and there was stuff before that, but this is a cool little story that was it 2000? No, it was 2005. Just trying to remember. Yeah, it had to be. Yeah, because 2000. No, it was around 2007 or so. Anyway, I was reframing my mind and saying, like, positivity, positivity. And I remember my cousin and his wife would come over here, and all I was talking about is, yeah, just stop listening to negativity and the news and all this kind of stuff. And I was this total shift of who I was from before. And they were like, when you shock somebody, like, who are you? Right. And his wife, my cousin's wife, said, and this is around 2007, and said, Oh, so are you talking about like the secret? And I had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, the secret. Um, I don't know if I was already with, no, I couldn't. It wasn't. I read The Secret first. So anyway, she told me about The Secret. I'm like, okay. She goes, if you're into all this positivity stuff, you got to read this. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I read the thing and I was already, and then that led me to John's first program. Forget
Yeah.
what it's called, but I bought that again. I'm irrationally passionate because I was irrationally passionate, not about manifesting a Lamborghini, in my driveway, but boom,
Right.
here we go. I'm manifesting. No, none of that. It was like, okay, how do I do this? And it was called Having It All. That was the first thing, and that was around the end of 2007, and boom, right into that. And then 4 years later, about 3 years later, was when I met John, and he was in my first mastermind. It was like uncanny. And that's when I got introduced to everybody in the
Right.
world.
Yeah.
And this is so it was 2011 when I was really introduced to the online world and all of the people, all the gurus, you name them, they were there.
Yeah.
Okay. They were all there. And I had no idea who these people were. And sitting in the room with them, and all I knew was John. And here's what I'm telling you. It's so funny because we were just talking about my introversion and all this kind of stuff. So I'm in the VIP area because I paid to be in this now coaching thing. He was my first ever, and I only knew one person in the coaching group, which was one of my friends from the real estate world. So I would be with that person. I'd be just talking with him, right? And so all these groups, and then Rich Sheffrin was right beside me. Eben was over here, and they were all having their little groups, like 4 or 5 people at a time. But I didn't know who they were, so whatever. And then my friend, he goes, "Oh, there's John. I want to go talk to him because I've been hearing his voice in my headphones for years, and I already knew who John was. But what do I do? Can you guess what I did?" So he goes over to talk to John, and I stand there in the middle of the room like a just a goofball waiting for him to come back. I don't go over to talk to John, right? Because I'm just an introvert. Oh my god.
Elvira's asking who John Asaraf.
John Asaraf. Oh my god, it was crazy. And that's how I got introduced to this whole world. So I don't even remember really. I guess I would say the first person is Tony Robbins because I was 16 years old, 15 years old.
Yeah.
That was the very first person who I was really being taught personal development from.
Yeah, I remember reading Awaken the Giant Within. It was like 8 billion pages, like that thick. Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
That was one of the books of his I read.
Yeah. Never read. I don't think I've ever read one of his books.
Yeah, I read a bunch of his books.
It was all tapes. It was all the
yeah,
all the DVDs and all that kind of stuff. But that's how I got into this world. And it was just uncanny how you unpack it all and say, holy mackerel, if I didn't do all of these other things, where would I be? And I keep on reminding myself, like, if my cousin's wife didn't tell me about The Secret, where would I be? Would I be here? I have no idea. And I think that was a huge trajectory because it led me to buying John's course, right? And then that reframed my mind to say a couple years later when I was asked to come into the coaching thing, yeah, give me 20 grand. And I'm like, 20 grand? What are you crazy? What am I going to get out of this thing? Yeah, it's nuts.
It was Brian Childers, Tracy Childers. Those are the real estate guys too, years back.
I don't even know who they are you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know those names. Giant Within, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go. So this was all about
Inside the sales professionals.
Not that we are professional salespeople, but I'm just taking notes from Evan because Evan was at that event, and that's why I give respect to him and again another missed opportunity. One day, ask me about the Evan story next time, and I'll tell you that one because that was another huge missed opportunity. But again, I didn't know who these people were. But now I look back thinking, wow, where would I be had I not been so an introverted person, and B, the conversations I could have had and where I would be. But again, I don't regret it, but it got me here.
It got you here. Got you
Any
here.
any last words, bro?
No, this was an amazing topic as always. I love talking about selling. I love talking about all the giants whose shoulders that we stand upon, because I learn all this stuff from everybody and you and each of us. And that's what it's all about. It's just, keep learning and doing and helping and serving, and it all works out in the end.
The most important person to learn from is your customer.
Yep.
Hey, I gotta
Oh.
write that down.
There's the title of the book. Most important person to learn from is your customer. By Joey Ragona.
There you go. Thank you for being here. If you're here live, let us know with the hashtag live. If you're here on the replay, hit a hashtag replay. Give us a thumbs up or a heart or anything that you feel as though we deserve. And if you are part of our Facebook group, thank you. If you are not, I'm going to put that right in here. So you can join our Facebook group. It is for heart-centered people only. It's a very tight-knit community with people that are in there serving and helping every single day. It's a great community to be in if you are heart-centered and want to change the world in a small corner of your world in a small little way, or maybe a big way. It should be big. All right, cool.
Awesome.
Thank you. We'll see you next Tuesday.